troubles every day. Makes me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? Need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab.
Are you ready? You ready for these strategies? We all need them, you know.
I am.
I'm ready.
We need strategies for living.
Yes, we do. Have you seen the world out there?
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that today. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into 101.7 FM. 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is PLPC, Lauren Leon McMillan, psychotherapist extraordinaire. You know, sometimes dealing with politics, I think I need a psychotherapist.
Don't we all?
Have you been at my Thanksgiving table and heard my brother and my brother-in-law who are on opposite? You know both of them, right?
Absolutely.
And you can imagine the polar opposites.
I don't have to imagine. I have been witness, fortunately or unfortunately.
You have been, but you've only witnessed the mild parts of it, Lauren.
I understand. That's
what you
tell me.
I remember a Thanksgiving not too many years ago, back when my brother still lived here. Brother and sister-in-law still lived in town, and I can remember being at the table, and I was smack dab in between these two. Mm-hmm. And it was, oh, geez.
Like a tennis match, huh?
Lord have mercy. So, you know, what we're going to talk about today, I mean, people get in full-blown fights about politics. Mm-hmm. And our life strategist today is Dr. Melvin Lurie. He's written a book, a very, very interesting book, called The Biology of Politics, So America Won't Die. How many of us do fear, you know, that America's being so divided is we're going to implode. Well, Dr. Lurie says he's got a simple science-based solution that can, you know, describe under or unappreciated human drives. And he says if we recognize them, you know, we can save our country. And so I want to listen to this guy.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. Hey, folks, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. Thank you for listening to us. And we appreciate our sponsors making it all possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning RX and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. We will be back in a moment to meet Dr. Melvin Lurie, author of The Biology of Politics, So America Won't Die. We all better listen to this. Back in a moment with Strategies for Living. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center. You know, I say it a lot. There's no place like the Robinson.
Absolutely, there is not.
617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. You've got so much. You got the movies. You got Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor of RFC, open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday.
Newly remodeled.
Absolutely. Great menu. RobinsonFilmCenter.org is the way you check it all out. You can go to RobinsonFilmCenter.org at any time and find out what movies are showing. Here's the deal. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. When you become a member, you become a star. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport. I'll say it again. There's no place like the Robinson.
There is not, and I'm glad we have one right here.
Absolutely. The RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, Maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending. Learning RX Report offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Report. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child. So does Learning RX Report.
Welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, and Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. You know, I often say we need those strategies.
Yes, we do.
And with the strategies we're going to get from our life strategists today, we definitely need them.
Couldn't be more timely.
Melvin Lurie comes from a background in the hard sciences of biology and genetics. He was educated at Johns Hopkins and also in medicine at Harvard Medical School. He's an honors graduate, both places. He also did a fellowship at the Pasteur Institute in Paris, where he attended seminars with 4 Nobel Prize winners. It was only when he became a psychiatrist that he really became comfortable with the soft sciences and the uncertainty of his conclusions. And they'll likely be tested and modified over and over until we get it right. Let's bring in the author of The Biology of Politics, Dr. Melvin Lurie. Dr. Lurie, welcome to Strategies for Living.
Yes, welcome.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. Yep.
Well, how could we not invite you? This is such an important conversation for us to be having today. I'm wondering where it started for you, Dr. Lurie. Where did this begin? When did you realize, I guess, that I need to explore the connection between biology and politics? What was the beginning place of that?
So the thing that really got me going was that I read that a historian said that the average civilization lasts only between 200 and 250 years. And we're about at 250.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that got me worried and thinking. And so I read about history, and they talked about kings and they talked about royalty, but they didn't give a clue, because they didn't focus on it, on biology, on biological factors that might have played a part. Yeah, that's what going. That I had to, at that point, I was obsessed, and I had to come up with something. Yeah.
So you started out in the hard sciences in medical school. You ended up in psychiatry. How did that background in psychiatry influence eventually this book that you've written? And by the way, folks, the book is called The Biology of Politics. And Dr. Lurie, you can get it wherever you buy books, right? You can get it at Amazon or that type of place.
Sure, you can get it free by going to thebiologyofpolitics.com.
Oh, wow.
So
okay, you can't beat that
I wanted
price.
to get it out there.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
I wanted to get it out there.
You're really passionate about getting this information out. If you're giving it away free, you really want us to have this information, don't you?
Absolutely. I think, from my perspective, it's crucial.
Yeah.
It's crucial.
So let's talk about there's a field really in psychology that is political psychology, right?
Yes.
How has that evolved, and where does the biology of politics fit into that?
Okay, well, the psychology part is really superficial to the biological part. In other words, our biology, our genes, set up the brain, which is where we deal with psychology. And a lot of psychologists say, it's the same thing in different ways. We're still about to die. So I certainly wanted to go deeper to the biology and the genetics of it, because that's what starts all of us off.
Right. So what's the most significant biological factors that drive our politics, our political behavior?
So, it's simple, but it wasn't simple when I struggled to find out. Here's what you do. You go to the basics of life. Every living thing has to focus on survival and reproduction because we die out.
Right.
So survival and reproduction. So, I thought it's a little too complicated to just focus on humans. We have to find a lower species, one that only has behavior by its genes. They're the same in each generation.
Right.
And so then once we see the basics, then we can see how they're manifested in a complex human society. So that was my goal. And there you go. Here's what I came up with.
Okay.
Nesting species are like us.
Okay.
Let's take birds.
Okay.
They have offspring that can't even digest human food. Has to be processed for them to get nourishment.
Right.
They reproduce closure. The offspring are very dependent and have to be nurtured up to the point of independence as adults. And the nest has to be kept clean.
Right.
So that's what happens inside the nest. Now, outside the nest, what do the birds do? What do the robins do? Well, they gather food for the mate and the offspring.
Right.
And they also ward off would-be intruders. Ward off, not just beat, but ward off. And now it's funny, but it happened to me. I got too close to a robin's nest once, and boy, they can't. Then there was seems like there was a partner too, but they came at me. And here I'm a big person, their little bird. It would have done anything to protect that nest.
Yeah.
So I ran away. That's my solution. I just ran away, and the bird got that I was friendly, I guess.
That's what a smart psychiatrist does when a bird attacks. You run away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no embarrassment about that for us.
Yeah.
So then I had to figure out how it was manifested in society, and I already talked about the very dependent offspring. But how is that really manifested in today's world? Well, we certainly spend a lot of resources on nurturing, and especially we nurture the most vulnerable at the time. If you think about it in a family, if the infant is in the mother's arm and one of the children falls and really hurts himself,
Right.
the mother's got a dilemma. She's got to attend to that child, so she has to figure out how to put the baby down and attend to that child, even though it's older,
Right.
because it's the most vulnerable at the time. And we do this all the time. We do it through charity, we do it through welfare, and we do it in our personal lives. So it's a drive. It's really a drive. That's the important thing. It's a drive, and because it's a drive, it has to be fulfilled one way or the other. So
that's the bottom line. We've got to recognize that this is a drive. It's a have to, because if it's a drive, it's a have to, not a want to.
That's right.
So I've got to fulfill it in some way. The question is how. Now, how is that manifesting politically right now? What's happening is what we're seeing right now.
Trying to protect the nest.
Trying to protect the nest, the result of us not understanding what you're saying here, the basic drive. This is not a want to, it's a have to. Is that what we're seeing happening?
Well, we're seeing it not happening enough. I mean, the military budget has gone down. There was demoralization in the military. They couldn't fill their recruiting goals. And what is that? What's that a manifestation of? What is it about human nature, genetically, of course, that gets to that point? We spend so much money on helping the most vulnerable by, for example, helping them with housing, helping them with school, that we don't have enough resources left for the outside, what I call the outside the nest functions of protecting it. And we do it through the military or the police.
So you break down then inside the nest functions and outside the nest functions, right?
Yes. Inside the nest, the functions are on reproduction. And when I say reproduction, I mean reproductive development to the point of adulthood. We're not talking about reproduction how most people see it. They see sex and whatever. They maybe end at the point of birth, but this begins at the point of birth. So that's what goes on inside the nest. Also, if we look at birds, they have a fecal sac delivered by the hatchling that the mother takes out of the nest to keep it clean.
To keep it clean.
Now, we certainly can. That's right, and we can certainly see a manifestation of that today in the environmental movement. But that conflicts with an outside the nest function, which is to gather food or gather resources. That's the economy. So if we spend too much money on the environment, instead of there being a balance between the two, the outside the nest and the inside the nest drives, if there's not a balance, then we're in trouble. So that's the goal.
And we're really in trouble because we don't see that our behavior is, according to your hypothesis, our behavior, what we're seeing, this great divide that's been, this isn't new, but it's really, I've seen it go to different heights in my lifetime. I'm 68 years old. And, I know from studying history, this isn't the first time in history that we've been divided. I mean, I wasn't alive, obviously, during the Civil War, but that was a time of great division in our country. Some people say that what we're experiencing now is not unlike that period of time in terms of the divisiveness. So,
well, in that way, it's not. The question is a society strong enough or capable enough to overcome it and get back together? That's what's going on. And in fact, serious anthropologists will say that final stressor, whether it's a flood or a famine or war, that final stressor must have happened earlier in the society. It's a final stressor, the final stressor. And it has to do with the society, our culture, what's going on that we get to this point. So that's how I see it.
We are into a fascinating conversation today with Dr. Melvin Lurie. The name of the book is The Biology of Politics, So America Won't Die. Now, you can find the book at your favorite bookseller, or you can get it for free on thebiologyofpolitics.com. In any event, Melvin Lurie is passionate about this, and he's sharing it with us today here on Strategies for Living. Come back. We've got more to come. Dealing with stress, pain, feel like you're running out of options? When your life is balanced, wellness is a given. True wellness is holistic. It's about the mind, the body, and the spirit, all in balance. Now, there's a place right here in Shreveport that's all about helping us achieve peak mental, emotional, and physical health. The Balanced Life, 117 Kings Highway, right next door to Strawn's. Come see and feel the difference getting your life in balance can be. Many of your friends and neighbors have already learned the difference less stress and pain mean in their lives. You can book a discovery session right now online, thebalancedlife.us. All you've got to lose is stress, pain, or maybe both. Come see and feel for yourself the real difference balanced wellness makes. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, 117 Kings Highway in Shreveport, next door to Strawn's, thebalancedlife.us.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio we have every day. one sky seeing tribe. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, and we are with our life strategist today. He's the author of The Biology of Politics. He's Dr. Melvin Lurie. Subtitled of the book is So America Won't Die. Wow. I don't know that we've had an author I deem as important with as an important message as you are delivering to us today. You know, and I'm back stuck on your, what you said earlier, Dr. Lurie, that, how the genesis of this for you, you're researching democracies, and the average democracy survives, what did you say, 235 years?
200 to 250.
Well, that's about us, but 250.
Yeah.
You have a little room.
Yeah.
Little room.
So, again, that's average. And, of course, here in the United States, here in America, we want to think of ourselves as above average, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's right.
Yeah. But if we do want to be above average, I think that's the deal. We got to pay attention to maybe some of the stuff that we haven't attended to before, that we haven't paid attention to before. When you talk about biology and the what you're proposing, and the framework of biology really increasing the political polarization today, then this understanding has the ability, I guess, to help us navigate. If you had the ear of the powers that be on both sides of the spectrum, left and right, what would you may or may not know this, by the way, Dr. Lurie, the current Speaker of the House of Representatives is our congressman, and he's our congressman here in Louisiana.
Grew up right down the road.
Yeah, Lauren grew up right down the street from him. So let's say that you could sit down with him and the powers that be in the Senate, the powers that be at the Supreme Court, the powers that be in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and the Green Party, whoever we want to include. You've got all the powers together, and they're ready to listen to you. What do you really want them to know? What message do you want to get across to all of the powers that be?
So they have to know that the added dimension of history is science, and the science of biology. And I would say to them, if you want to know what's really going on in our society, the overview, clash between two or more drives. When a society functions well, it's used what we call sociostasis. It has an equilibrium between survival functions and reproductive functions. Now, Congressman Johnson, what do I mean? What do I mean by that, you're asking? Well, if you look at lower animals, it's easy. And if you look at the family unit, it's easy. So it can be divided. The functions can be divided into in the nest and outside the nest functions.
Right.
Outside the nest, the goal, the drive, is to bring resources, food, resources into the nest. That resonates with things today, like the economy. Mm-hmm. So, and that's one reason why money is a focus.
Right.
The other drive is to protect the nest against intruders. And look what's happening, sir. The military cannot fill its ranks, its recruiting goals, and the budget is less. So is that important? Everybody says it's important, but they don't tie it together. So what's happening is we have a sense of security in this country, whether it's part of it is been military, part of it has been the safety net. Everyone wants a safety net. But once we start to feel really secure, then we're in trouble because we focus too much on inside the nest drives.
All right, so I'm wondering as I'm listening to this, inside the nest, outside the nest. So are we talking about testosterone and I don't know, oxytocin, or I'm kind of going to the neurochemical from the biological. Do the hormones play a role in the in this picture at all, Dr. Lurie?
Well, I'm sure if you can measure hormone level, say 100 years ago in our society, they'd be a bit different than they are now. But that doesn't matter. The thing is, even though we're talking about drives, we can deal with drives. There's a sex drive. People can have enough ability to fulfill that drive, that sexual drive, but not to the point where it's disturbing to others, for example. Right. We have lots of rules, not to the point where, say, a caveman can just grab a woman and have sex with her. Right. So we have a lot of ways that we control that drive, so it is expressed, but not to the point where it's disruptive. And that's the case with, for example, our focus on the most vulnerable. That's the case when we focus on cleanliness. It's true for the birds, and it's easy to see, but we're spending so much resources on the environment and curtailing economic factors like factories, whatever, that the society's out of balance. And the question is this what happens? Societies fall when they collapse. Is this what's going on? And if you really start to think about it, this will be modified, but we've got to deal with that, because if we don't, we will collapse. This country has had civil war. It's had undermined in the 30s. Right. And in the 60s.
Right.
Okay. So this is the idea that a civilization will overcome various stressors on its structure until it's to the point where it can't. And might be now. It might be now. That's what gets me scared.
Yeah.
And that's what's pushed me to learn about this.
Yeah.
So, Congressman Johnson, I know you have questions about this. Please ask them. And my goal is to spread. This is a mission for me to spread the word, because if we don't take this into consideration, if we don't appreciate that this is what's going on, then we're just, we're slave to the master of ignorance. Actually, that's what happens.
Yeah, I gotta tell you that as you sent me your book, and I was reviewing it in preparation for our program today, and I could not help as I was reviewing the book, and I want people to know it's not an overly complex treatise. It's a very simple read. You lay it out very well. But as I'm going through it, I couldn't help what our congressman came to our mind, and because he is in power. I mean, he's got the power of a congressman, but he's also the Speaker of the House. And I could not help but wonder, geez, I guess I should buy an extra copy of this and send him a copy. I wonder what his, I wonder, he's a smart guy. He's a very, very smart man. I wonder what his response would be, reading your hypothesis and what you put forth as the inside the nest versus outside the nest.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know what? You're giving me hope. I'll send it. I'm going to send it to him. We'll see. Maybe he'll read it. It is a quick read. Yeah. It's not complicated. So might as well do that. If my mission is to spread the word and start to appreciate what's going on biologically in society, so we can deal with it and not die.
Yeah.
It's certainly worth sending it. Their aides will get it, and maybe one or two of them will read it, and maybe they'll recommend it. He's got a lot of things to do, but hopefully he'll start to think in these terms. Yeah.
How do you think we draw the line? What I'm hearing you say is balance. What I'm hearing you say is that the part of the issue is we're continuing to really battle for a balance between what you call inside the nest and outside the nest behaviors. How do we begin to beyond? Okay, we recognize we got to understand the biology of it. But how do you begin to draw the line between the influences, of the environment and, let's say, the economy, just to pick on something you've already talked about?
Sure. Well, it's hard because you have two sides that are very passionate and they won't get off their issue, but there's a big middle. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm trying to spread the word. There's no way to appreciate it if you don't know what to appreciate.
Yeah.
It even happens in families. They can't talk to each other. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they get in fights.
Yeah.
And if they start to get off that and start thinking about it's a biological drive for this, biological drive for that, and sometimes one gets ahead, they might be able to talk then. Now, what happens though when you talk about leaders and the actual society? It's a bit tougher because in all of our minds, we want to have a safety net. We want to have all these benefits of inside the net drives, but we can't do it to the point where the outside drives are less focused on, because then we're vulnerable. We're vulnerable now.
Yeah.
So
we're exploring something that is extremely provocative today with Dr. Melvin Lurie. It is the biology of politics, so America won't die. We're talking about it today here on Strategies for Living. We've got more. Stay with us. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for a Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. We're with Dr. Melvin Lurie today. Leave it to a psychiatrist. Look at where he's brought us. The book is The Biology of Politics, and I'm joshing with him a little bit because what he's proposing is very, very. I've not seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And it's very provocative. We all know, the divisiveness that is in our country today. As we've already talked about, it's being expressed in communities, in our families even. But you've already said, Dr. Lurie, it's hard. It's hard to actually, how do you, once you understand that this is a basic human drive thing, inside the nest, outside the nest, it's not going to be changed. That's not going away, right?
Right. It's a question of balance.
So the real conundrum then is how do we once we understand that that's what's going on, how do we really put it into practice, in a practical way?
What can we do?
What can we do, starting individually, in our families, in our communities, not to mention states and regions and finally country. What can we do, within our own families and individually?
Sure. Well, the first thing, of course, is to understand this system. But it is the implementation. What can we do? But the thing is, we can discuss it from the point of view of biology and look at what's going on as drives. So to the extent we can do that, we can start to talk. Now, if the leaders start to understand this, if they start to understand, it's still hard to translate it to the society, because our society, each of us wants certain things like the safety nets and like a very clean environment. And there's people are so focused on that, it's hard to bring them off and see that what they can't do is push their own behavior or push their drive to the point where it interferes with other drives, because when it does, you have clashes. And how do you do it? So I think the leaders can be a really good starting point. I'm trying to get the word out myself. As you know, I can get the book on this free. I just want the word to be out there, and but I'm good focus on the leaders, because to the extent they start to see this, I'm hope that it'll enter into their thinking when they formulate new policies. That's what I hope. Let me tell you, it's very hard to. It's like an ocean liner. It's hard to shift it around.
Yeah. You might see that iceberg coming, but it's hard to.
Yeah.
It's hard to turn. It's
absolutely.
You don't turn this thing on a dime, and again, you're plowing new ground. This, as I said, I'm not saying that I, know everything that's out there, but I've not seen anything like this out in the, arena, if you will. Nobody's talking about this except you, that I know of.
Right. I wish other people were talking about it, refining it, coming up with ways to deal with it. But if in all of our minds, we have to focus back or on what's outside the nest, which is the economy, the job, the money, and the protection, the police and the military. They are very demoralized, as we've said before.
Right.
And, maybe that's another starting point, because there is a chain of command in the military that leaders, if they understand this, they can start to transfer it to the military. And it's hard to get into the civil society. It's harder to do that.
Right.
This is what I'm trying to do. This is my mission. I haven't heard this before either.
What more research? What if your colleagues in psychology and psychiatry, in research, what additional research would you like to see take place?
So I'd like to see them just do the research and have some support for this. I tried to survey the population, sample, with respect to demographics, with respect to age, with respect to income, with respect to place of origin, what was the household like, etc., to try to see what focuses people on inside the nest drives and what focuses people on outside the nest drives. Would come up with anything meaningful. I'm sure that there are environmentalists out there. Environmental scientists out there can get at this better than I can, and that's great. It has to be emanated and thought about.
What do you want the average reader to take away? You know, you're passionate about this. You're even willing to give the book away. You're doing that. If people want to buy the book, they can, but you're giving it away on thebiologyofpolitics.com because you want people to understand. And so once a reader really reads, and it's brief, it's not difficult. It's
less than 100 pages.
Less than 100 pages or so. Once they read it and digest it, what do you hope they take away from it and do?
I hope it enters the various decisions that even we make as individuals. We don't spend all of them. We save it, but we're saving less because we feel secure. Now, things like hurricanes come along and people start to realize we're not as secure as we think. Also, the people stay in the Midwest. Survival is a business. If there's bad weather, there's no income because the farming won't work.
Right.
But the people that are, let's say, elite, like I am, like you are, our world doesn't crumble. It's some problems with security and with survival, so we can focus on reproduction. And leaders are like that. Focus on the important aspects of human nature, genetic human nature. And when people start to take it into consideration with the various decisions they make in life, we'll be back to a balance. And that's where we have to go. We can't neglect survival and we can't neglect reproduction, but we can focus on a balance.
Yes.
Focus on it.
Absolutely. Definitely. The Biology of Politics, So America Won't Die. You can download your copy free at thebiologyofpolitics.com. Dr. Melvin Lurie, our life strategist today, here on Strategies for Living. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome back. Welcome back into 1017 FM, 710 Keel, and Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan with Dr. Melvin Lurie. He has made us think today, Lauren.
I think he has earned his stripes as a life strategist. He's doing what they are supposed to do.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Dr. Lurie, you get a gold star from me and a gold star from Lauren.
I'll get him a certificate.
We're going to give you we're going to give you your life strategist official certificate. You really have this book, The Biology of Politics. I gotta say, you've really made us think. You really do make us think with what you're bringing forth. And I hear your passion. I know you're passionate about what you're doing, and I thank you.
Yeah, you see, even you've heard it even just once, and you're already thinking about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what I mean. We humans don't just let our drives run rampant.
Right.
We curtail them so that the drives can have their fulfillment.
Right.
Not 100%.
But if
no
we're
drive
not
100%.
if we're not even aware that the behavior is really sponsored and actually, pardon the pun, driven by our basic human drives, then if we're not, if you're not, you can't change what you're not aware of. You can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Yeah.
And so I thank you for bringing it to us. I thank you for writing this book and for giving it away. I mean, that in and of itself is, I think, very, very telling. Melvin Lurie, thank you. Thank you for being a great life strategist here on Strategies for Living.
Well, thank you. It's really been my pleasure.
Folks, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. We appreciate you being with us, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Pintail Roofing, and Learning RX, and the Balanced Life Wellness Center. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Dr. Melvin Lurie and for Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.